This conference will now be recorded.
My brain didn't right.
Okay. I thought we're going to all that.
It's quicker because you couldn't do it. Yeah, we're too much.
That's what we approved. You did. I wasn't here then. He has a tendency to run late.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to Monday, May the 2nd, 2022 agenda for the Bladen County Commissioners. At this time, we'll stand. Do we have Mr. Tommy Knight here from Dublin Baptist Church? If not, Mr. Cameron McGill will lead us in prayer. Mr. Martin, please follow, please.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for the day. Thank you for the privilege of living in a free land where we're represented by those we elect. And thank you for the privilege of having been elected. And I pray that we might represent our constituents well, that we might do the right thing always with the right heart and the right mind. Give us discerning spirits tonight, that we would know what the right thing is. Pray your blessings upon this community like never before. May we see, Lord, just prosperity and your favor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hope everybody has approved the consent item. Can I get a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Cogdale, second by Dr. Ellis. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Special recognition on some proclamations. If the commissioner step down front, I'm going to ask Madam Clerk read them through. I hope she's got a cup of water. Got a lot of reading there to do. Nurses Week. Ladies, come on down.
Do it again. Whereas registered nurses in the United States constitute our nation's largest healthcare profession, and whereas the depth and breadth of the registered nursing profession meets the different and emerging healthcare needs of the American population in a wide range of settings, including the front line of the pandemic. And whereas professional nursing is an indispensable component of the safety and quality of care of hospitalized and non-hospitalized patients. And whereas the demand for registered nursing services will be greater than ever because of the aging of the American population, emerging health challenges, the continuing expansion of life-sustaining technologies, and the explosive growth of home health care services. And whereas more qualified registered nurses are needed in the future to meet the increasingly complex needs of healthcare consumers in this community. And whereas the cost-effective, safe, and high-quality healthcare services provided by registered nurses will be an increasingly important component of the United States healthcare delivery system in the future. And whereas the American Nurses Association has declared May as Nurses Month with the theme, You Make a Difference, with appreciation for nurses' unparalleled impact during the pandemic and their contributions to healthcare, and an open invitation to thank a nurse for enriching our lives and the world we live in. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Bladen County Board of Commissioners, ask ask that all residents of Bladen County join us in honoring the registered nurses who care for us all. And be it further resolved that the residents of Bladen County celebrate registered nurses' accomplishments and efforts to improve our healthcare system and show our appreciation for the nation's registered nurses, not just during this month, but at every opportunity throughout the year.
On behalf of the commissioners of Bladen County, your plate's always full, and we know it. But for the last 2 years, your plate's run over several times, most of the time. But we thank you, and we don't take that lightly. We appreciate what you do. We know you've gone through a lot, and I can't say enough to tell you how much we appreciate each and everything y'all have done. Meaning from the bottom of all of us is hard. Duncan, you have something to say?
I'd like for everybody to know we have represented here some multiple disciplines of nursing from Bladen Community College with Dr. Nance, Jennifer Maynard and Susan Phelps from the hospital, and Tiffany and myself from the health department. We have invited some other folks, and hopefully next year we'll have a room full.
Any of you other ladies like to say something?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. We thank y'all.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much.
Thank
Hurricane Preparedness Week 2022, Mr. Nathan Dallas.
Whereas hurricanes and tropical systems have impacted every North Carolina county with disastrous results. And whereas North Carolina is repeatedly one of the leading states nationally for overall damage from hurricanes. And whereas hurricanes and tropical storms can cause life-threatening hazards such as flooding, storm surge, destructive winds, tornadoes, and landslides. And whereas flooding claims lives every year, usually when motorists attempt to drive through flooded roadways. And whereas insurance companies suggest residents review and update their homeowners or renters insurance policy to ensure it includes coverage for flooding, accidental damage, and natural disasters. And whereas people are less likely to be injured when they have prepared ahead of time and know what to do when a hurricane threatens. And whereas people should prepare their personal emergency supply kit to use at home or during an evacuation with enough food and water to sustain the members of their household for 3 days or longer, and should know their evacuation routes and comply with local and state authorities when asked to evacuate. And whereas the readync.gov website is available to help people make emergency preparedness plans and provide current weather and traffic conditions. And whereas the National Weather Service, local and state government officials all work together before and during a hurricane or tropical storm to reduce the dangers posed to lives and property and provide a quick, effective response to these storms. And whereas the observance of Hurricane Preparedness Week by Bladen County residents provides better protection from the dangers of hurricanes and tropical storms. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bladen County Board of Commissioners proclaims the week of May 1 through 7, 2022 as Hurricane Preparedness Week in Bladen County, and encourages all county residents to plan and prepare by assembling their personal emergency supply kits and updating their emergency plans.
Nathan, on behalf of the commissioners, we present this to you. And I must say to everyone, Nathan's first year on the job, he had to face this. And it's unbelievable how he handled it. You'd have thought he'd been doing it for 10 or 20 years. And I think everyone will agree that it was very impressive. You kept us informed. You did a good job, and we thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And we hope. National Public Works Week proclamation. Mr. Allen, if you'd come forward, Mr. Gill couldn't be here tonight. Like I mentioned before, she reads this. I don't care when I call this man, in no time he's out doing it, whether it's Saturday or Sunday or whatever. So you mean a lot to this county, Trevor.
Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Bladen County. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works who are federally mandated first responders and the engineers, managers, employees at all levels of government sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for citizens, civic leaders, and children in Bladen County to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works, first responders, and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bladen County Board of Commissioners does hereby designate the week of May 15 through 21, 2022 as National Public Works Week and urges all citizens to join with government agencies to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life.
Again, on behalf of the commissioners, we thank you. And again, you can't overemphasize Saturday and Sunday is just another day for them when we have an issue with our water and problems. And they're on call, ready to go at any time. And I want you to know we appreciate it and thank you guys who work with you. It means a lot. And I say that for kids and everybody and all the commissioners. Thanks very much. Individual delegation wish to address the commissioners, Murphy Town community concerned citizens.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Albert Beatty, and I'm here with some concerned citizens from the Murphy Bridge community. Murphy Bridge community is a small community with the tip end of, thank you, but you never were there.
I saw that stick.
We are located in the tip end of Lake Creek Precinct, and we are here concerning cell tower that's being talked about being put in our area. This cell tower that they're speaking about is a half a mile from another cell tower. And we had a zoning committee meeting here the 19th of April. And it was asked why couldn't they tack on to that one? And the gentleman stated that they wanted to have their own tower. Well, if they were to put this cell tower up, this cell tower would only be about 3,000 feet from the other cell tower. And when you say 3,000 feet, 3,000 feet would be approximately like from here to the sheriff's department, or from here to Walmart, or from here to the radio station. And we feel like that radiation that these things would give off, that would just overpower our neighborhood. And we already have 300 or 700 acre solar farm, and they are putting up a 2,000 acre solar farm, and they've got a 350 acre solar farm. And I don't see why they couldn't find some space another on one of those to put this solar farm. This solar farm that they're speaking about, the land that they're speaking about is on the Henry Shaw property. He passed away, and then this property went to his daughter. She passed away, and it went to her sibling, and they're living in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And we did not. None of the people in the neighborhood knew about this thing until after April the 4th. And we had a zone meeting April the 19th. So we in the community feel like, you know, this is just overpowering the neighborhood with a lot of radiation. And this cell tower that they're speaking about is a 5G. And from what I have read, I'm not no expert on this stuff, but what I have read, that's one of the strongest towers that's been installed so far today. And the gentleman that spoke to us on April the 19th, he stated that he had helped put up solar farms all over, cell towers all over the state of North Carolina, and that he had never heard of any of these towers causing any problem. They didn't depreciate the property or nothing like that. But I could tell him one thing: it might not decrease the property, but it will restrict some of the crops that you could plant in the area. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, when CP&L came through with that big transmission line, it went across our farm. And it didn't decrease the value of the farm, but it restricts some of the crops that we could plant because you couldn't get a fixed-wing aircraft to do any crop dusting for you. So it didn't depreciate the property, but it restricts your income. So we would like very much for you all to give us as much consideration into this as you possibly can.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes, sir.
2 or 3 things I'd like to point out, and you being a past commissioner, you know. The first one, that board makes a decision like this on their own. They're governed themselves to make this decision without us. And number 2, the service that the first tower is for their customers, and it doesn't pick up the signals for the other folks that need the tower. And number 3, I would hope that our government, whether it be state or federal, wouldn't allow towers that it's a cancer-proven item. And if I lived in the area and I was concerned about my property, I'd probably feel just like you. But in this case, glad to hear what you had to say, but any of the other commissioners can speak on behalf, but for themselves. But that's the decision that the board research and the zoning, and that's the decision they have to make. Just like when you're on this board, you had to approve people that were asked to go on the board, just like we do. The community puts them on it, and your commissioners that represent your area put them on. And we hope and feel like they've done their job. But I respect your comments, but that's where we're at. This is something we can't act on.
The concerned citizens are not concerned about the property, they're concerned about health.
I understand that. And I said that comes from the federal government down. I would assume if it's about the health, that our federal government and our state government would be making decisions to tell us not, and those zoning boards, you couldn't put them up. There wouldn't be no towers. Anyone else? Scott Dale?
I have the pleasure of serving on the Bladen County Planning Board for 8 years. And I know towers was coming in at various times. They were located throughout the county. We had a lot of issues talking about where they'd be located, and some people had concerns about those towers being placed. But what I'm trying to run by when I'm listening to what has happened, I know when we would do it, we would have to contact all the adjoining properties. Every adjoining property had to be contacted. And they had the opportunity to come in and present their case to that board as well as not they wanted that planning that to be there. And I can't recall but one instance was with a mobile home park that I was on the board for 8 years. When all the citizens that was adjoining that property complained about that property, it was a no-go. We would not go with that project because that was part of the scenario. You have to get the consent of those people that's adjoining that property for anything to be located to do any type of zoning requirement. And I don't know whether zoning rules has changed since the last time I was on there or not, But that's the clarity, Mr. Chairman, that I was trying to seek out. Has that changed? Because that was a stipulation on that about the amount of people with adjoining property we had to give them their full consideration. And I've never seen time when all the people didn't want it and opposed it, that we approved something to go on, whether it was a tower. We had to turn some towers down because property owners did not want that on their property and the adjoining property. So I don't know whether that rule has changed with the planning board ordinance and rules and regulations, but we might need to check on that, see if that's changed.
My question, Mr. Beatty, is you said that you would know, when were you notified, or when were the adjacent owners were notified?
Well, I'm not sure. With that, I saw a letter, and the letter was typed April the 4th, but people in the neighborhood didn't find out about it until probably about the 10th.
And the meeting was on
April the 19th.
And that mean, I think they have their law, or their statute says that they have so much days, so many days, it has to be posted and be notified, and it was in the paper or someplace else. And I guess that would be my question to the chair, if that was done for their, it ought to be done fairly. You should be notified in writing, and I'm not sure if that was done.
Well,
Make sure that's a consideration.
This tract of land was 108 acres, and it was divided 6 ways. So most of the adjoining landowners are in the family, except one, and that one is Miss Dottie Long, and she was ill, and she couldn't be here.
But was she notified of that? My question. Was she?
I don't know.
I'd like to make sure that was done as well.
Well, I don't think she was notified because the letter was not typed until
After 10.
No, the letter was typed April the 4th, and the meeting was April the 19th. So we got snail mail now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mr. Beatty, have y'all been to the public hearing?
Yes, we went to the public hearing.
Have they made a decision yet
They made a decision.
to install it?
Yes, sir. And one of the members of the board had a lot of opposition about it. But he said he was having a lot of problems in Tar Heel with his cell phone. He said he was having trouble with his computer, and he stated that he was having trouble with 2 of his vehicles in that area where that tower is in the Tar Heel. And the gentleman could not explain why he was having problems.
He called the company the day that they turned it on, and he asked them, "Did you turn it on yesterday?" And they said, "Yes." And they said, "How do you know that?" He said, "Because of those things that you just said."
Mr. Beatty, I would, ask Mr. Brett and Mr. Martin just to check in there. I don't know if there's anything we can do. I don't know for sure, but we need to see if anything can be done. But if they approach it, I don't know that we've got any say so.
Mr.
The way the structure of the planning and zoning board is.
Well, the only question I have, he mentioned something about the health concerns. Would it be to our advantage? And I know you mentioned that there are some state laws and federal laws. Would it be to our advantage to get a technician to do a medical research and notify us in regards to that? Would that be something that we need to look at ourselves medically?
I think that's something the county attorney would have to mention, but there again, I personally think if it was, nobody would be allowed to put one anywhere near a resident.
The thing I'm asking, see, you got special use permit, and the thing I'm asking was that's a special use permit. And they got certain criteria that you have to meet according to what type of zoning you're asking for. And I'm trying to figure out, is that a special use permit? Because I think it is, whenever you put one of the towers up, special use permit. And what's the governing rules in the ordinance with the special use permit? So it's some things in here we might need to get Mr. Martin to clarify as to how they did what they did and the procedures that they used, and were they all in line for us to see whether or not it was handled correctly.
I reviewed the application on behalf of that company, not able to attend the meeting on the 19th, but the application, the adjacent landowners were properly legally notified, for the statute, and, the board unanimously passed it. So it is really, there's some, ways that Mr. Beatty or members in the community that if they want some kind of recourse to change what the planning board, because it is a separate board for this, and all four criteria were met for the representative of that company. It was passed. There is some recourse if the community or Mr. Beatty or whoever would like to go that route. But it's in the Bladen County zoning ordinance of what they would need to do. They would have 30 days for the passage or the entry of that special use permit to go a legal recourse if they wanted to overtry that.
That's a question. So you're saying, I thought notification was 30 days, it's not?
I believe it's to adjacent landowners 10 days prior to.
Oh, it's just 10? Or?
So, and it's certified mail, it's, and after reviewing everything with Mr. Elkins to make sure that everything's in tip-top shape, I was confident everything's all right.
So, Mr. Bay, you need to get a copy, go to Bladen County webpage, get a copy of the plan and zoning ordinance, and you don't have it just a few days left to 30, you have 30 days to appeal it, so you don't have long to do it.
While the attorney, she could ask you a question in reference to a special use permit. When the situation was happening on the Dublin redistricting, that was a special use permit. And it came before this board to vote whether or not to approve it or not.
Right.
That was a rezoning.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
different from special
So
use.
that special use is two different scenarios. When
Right. They, on a special use permit, the planning board actually acts as a quasi judicial board. They make those decisions down there. There's certain things that come up to the board of commissioners. That was a rezoning matter on that Dublin property.
So that special use wasn't a rezoning stipulation.
It's a permit for special use, and cell towers of that sort fall under special uses.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bay.
Okay. Mr. Betty, I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction to find that ordinance.
Well,
NC Department of Transportation, Mr. Ken Clark, District Engineer.
All right, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. So you've been around a while. You remember in years past, we've come about once a year and present a county construction program to you to approve. Well, that kind of went away in 2015. However, we thought it'd still be prudent to come before you and kind of update you on where we are, what's going on in the county, where we're at on some different things. Just so I can see a little better there. A few things I want to cover real quick. I know our time's limited, but we'll go through this. Just real briefly, some mileage statistics for our county. We'll touch on our secondary road paving program, touch on our resurfacing program, our bridge program, and I'm sure there'll be some other topics you want to ask me about our discussion we can cover there at the end. Just in terms of road miles, to give you an idea of how big of a system we have in Bladen County. North Carolina is kind of unique in that we maintain almost every road there is in the state of North Carolina. You see by this graphic here, 75% of the roads in North Carolina, NCDOT maintains, whereas in our neighboring states, considerably lower percentage. So what that means to you is DOT takes on the burden of all those county secondary roads versus turn that over to the county to have to maintain those roads like they do in South Carolina and Virginia and some of these neighboring states that we have. Within Bladen County itself, got 874 miles total. Columbus County, which is also my district, is 1,243 miles together, a little over 2,000 miles. Just comparison, Rhode Island only has 1,100 miles. There is one error on this thing I want to point out. That unpaved miles for Bladen County is incorrect. That came off our website. It's wrong. It's actually 25 miles, what we're down to on unpaved roads in Bladen County. That's an idea of how far, if you stretch all of our miles in Columbus and Bladen County together, that's how far you go across the nation on a two-lane road. Okay, secondary road paving program. As I mentioned, up until 2015, we had a county program where all the unpaved roads in the county were ranked, and we come before this board once a year and present that program to you, and y'all would approve it. In 2015, that was changed, and now all roads must compete on the statewide levels. That's why you haven't seen as many unpaved roads being paved, is because we have to compete against every unpaved road in the entire state. We still go through every 4 years and rate these roads, and there's a prioritization system where it's scored points based on the number of homes, number of businesses, whether it's a school bus route, that sort of thing. That's how these points are assessed for each road, and then it's ranked over the entire state. We do have a right-of-way owned agent. We continually works for us. locally. Sometimes some of these old roads that we've tried in the past, someone may pass away or property owner may move away. In those situations, we have him available to go back and take another look at these roads to see if there's any chance of getting them. But honestly, we've gone through every road in the county except for 14 roads we've tried at some point in the past. This past year, we were able to pave Lucy's Drive and Irene Drive. We think this year coming up, we're going to pay Clyde Evans Road. We recently acquired the right of way on that last little unpaved portion of Clyde Evans down there. I put a question mark because I won't know for sure until July 1st if that's going to be funded, but I feel pretty confident that it will. So that'll be our unpaved road that we pave this year coming up. Pavement condition, this is a biggie for me personally. In Bladen County, 76.6%, let me back up in a second. Every 2 years, all the roads in the state of North Carolina are ridden and ranked and scored on a 100-point scale. 80 to 100 is good, 60 to 80 is fair, less than 60 is failing. In Bladen County, most of our roads are good. We're quite a bit above the state average for the percentage of good roads in the county. Our average score is 86. We have been in the top 5 in the state in the past. I want to get that point again. We kind of lost a little bit of ground over the last couple of years because our budget was a few years ago with other things, but we're striving to get back where we once were. We're still, I think, 12th in the state, but I want to get back in that top 5. I like being up there. What we do as far as paving and bringing these scores up, if it is a high volume road or if the road is in very poor condition, we have to use what's called hot mix plant asphalt. That's where we actually put down the paver, 1.5 to 2 inches thick, and pave the road. The other technique we use a lot in Bladen County and other counties is chip seals. This is used on low volume roads. They're in decent condition. It's basically like extending the life is what it's for. It's not made to strengthen the road, but it's analogous to if you own a wooden house. If you go in and paint it every few years, you'll keep that house in good shape. If you let that house go for 20 years without painting it, you're going to spend a bunch of money on wood rot and everything else. Roads are no different. If we can keep those things sealed off, keep water out, keep the sun from beating on the pavement by using the chip seals, it prolongs the life of that road considerably, which saves us money in the long run. That's just kind of a map showing the red is the poor roads, yellow is the fair roads, green are the good roads. What we completed recently, last year we finished up part of 87. We also NC 20, NC 53, and NC 242 South. Those are resurfacing routes. On the chip seal side of the house, we basically finished up all of NC 210, and also did a bunch of secondary roads, some around the Bladenboro area, and others up around 701, that area up there. Most of this work is contracted out. We do a little bit of this chip seal work in-house. Honestly, going forward, it's probably going to be all contract work. As far as what's coming up for us, our next project is under contract, NC 242 North. I'll get NC 242 finished off for us, heading up into Cumberland County. And also NC 211. You may have saw a bunch of red down in that part of the county. That's pretty much NC 211 that is driving our scores down terribly. We're starting NC 211. We're going as far as we can in this contract. As we let another contract in the fall, we're going to keep going down 211. Once we get 211 finished, we're going to start with 87 on the east end of the county and work our way up 87 towards Elizabethtown. That's kind of our game plan for where we're heading on the next few contracts of resurfacing. As far as our chip seal work, we're pretty much doing all that area up around White Oak, up in that area with chip seals this year coming up. As far as bridges go, the biggie, of course, is the one at Cape Fear River, $28 million project. Just to give everybody heads up, we are going to actually close the road Wednesday. We had a little delay this week because we had some issues with the rotation of the crane. That has been resolved, so look for Wednesday. We're going to be starting our closures. It'll be from 9 to 10 in the morning, 2 to 3 in the afternoon, weekdays. We won't do it on weekends. We won't do it Water Festival Friday. And we can talk a little bit more about that later if you want to. What we have under contract, Singletary Mill Pond Road, replacement is getting ready to start there in the next few weeks. That one bridge on Singletary Mill Pond Road. We've also got upcoming bridge projects, significant bridge projects on Highway 11. They're near Natmore, and also the Hammond Creek Bridge on 87 is scheduled to be replaced as well. Some of the other type projects we have going on in Bladen, Nathan and I had this conversation the other day about NC 131 and 211. We'd ultimately like to have a roundabout there. We haven't quite gotten that funded yet, but in the interim, we're gonna make some signal changes to try to improve the, accident history we're having at that intersection. Obviously, traffic signals are not foolproof. Honestly, roundabouts always stop for better options most of the time. But we're gonna make signal changes trying to improve that with the ultimate goal of getting a roundabout there. Also, we got always stop sign going in NC 211 bypass at 242, with hopefully that ultimately being a roundabout as well. On the economic development side, we do have some funds set up to help out the Benning Green Industrial Park with extension down to where they're gonna build the land/air access on the runway there. And I know this is a big one here, Elwell Ferry Road, not road, but Elwell Ferry. We're right on that. We had a contractor lined up last year to start service, and he could not get insurance on the ferry because of some. They wanted to have a full out-of-water inspection, so that's where it's at right now. It is in Wilmington. The inspection is complete. There's a few repairs that have to be made. It's going to be repainted. Hope to have it back by the end of this month. We're actually going to let a contract on May 16th for an operator. So I hope by the end of this month, we're going to have that thing up and running again, and we'll be good to go for a few years on that. Any other topics we want to talk about? You're going to discuss the bridge in E-Town a little more. I'll leave your pleasure.
I have, Mr. Clark, question on, I think you consider it probably a private drive where Ryan Harrelson, myself, a lot of the Harrelsons out in front of Harrelson Brothers shop. How far do y'all maintain? We read supposedly to the center line of the ditch.
We do not maintain your driveway. We maintain the pipe of your driveway. So if there's an issue with the pipe, we maintain that. As far as the surface of your driveway, we do not maintain that. If there's a drop off at the edge of pavement that could be harmful to a car that ran off the road, we do fix the area adjacent to the pavement. But as far as going back, like I said, where you're at, the right of ways, I mean, ditch is way back there, 50 feet, 60 feet. We will not maintain your driveway, but we will maintain the pipe if there's an issue with the pipe in the driveway.
It's actually about 18 feet, but I was just asking because when you look at Irene Drive, and that happens to be some of my family, and Frank Harrelson's the only one at the end. There used to be about 40 local homes in there that are 30, 40, or 50. I'm going to correct that. 6 or 7 mobile homes that are about 40 years old. Frank is the only one in there, and that's one of the streets that y'all paved this year, probably $1 million or $2 million.
It was nowhere near that. The reason why it was paved is because it was on the state system, and at the time that it was prioritized last, all those homes were there, and so it had a large number of homes on it the last time it was prioritized.
That's the only reason I question. With one house, as many homes there are in the other areas, and that street got done.
If it's a situation where we were prioritizing that road like this moment, it will not get paved. Yeah, I think there's 5 homes. There's a bunch of homes out in Lucy.
Very limited compared to that's the only question. A lot of people ask that question. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you this. If there's somebody who has a question about a particular road, they can definitely call our office and we'll research where it's at on the priority system. Most of the time, other than maybe 14 roads, we've already looked at these roads before, and why they haven't been paved in the past is because we couldn't get right away on them.
But the drop-offs at the edge of the road, though, y'all
yes, yeah. If it's a drop-off at the edge of the road, that's a safety issue to the people on traveling on the highways. We do take care of that. Yes, sir.
My one is on the 87 4 lanes.
Okay.
Are y'all gonna do anything to correct? I know it don't rain all the time. But I've never been on a highway that can hold that much water when it's raining. I mean, is it something that can be corrected on that? When you're driving on, especially when you're heading from Dublin to Fayetteville, and it's a good rain, you leave out the hydroplanes and everything else because it's just the lanes just hold water. So much water away.
On the Dublin to Fayetteville section?
Yeah, when you ran on the
Tar Heel to Fayetteville. Or Dublin to Tar Heel. Reason why I have a different section.
And on that section, it's just water all over the highway. It's not draining up.
Yeah. I ride in the rain one day. I'll be honest with you, I haven't ridden that road in the rain in a long time. The part from Tar Heel north should be okay because that's fairly new pavement up there. But now the part from Tar Heel to Dublin, yeah, that pavement is 2004, 2005 vintage. So
that's the one on
plan?
It is coming up, yeah. I mean, it's still a few years out. We actually have worse pavement conditions on the east end of the county on 87. So we're actually working our way north along 87. But the only way to truly correct what you're talking about is to resurface it.
I have two, actually three. The first one, Kenny Store Road off 87. It's like it keeps chipping and we have cradles.
There at the
Right before the
recycling center?
Right, recycling, exactly. Well, I mean, are you gonna fix that?
Yes, we're probably going to dig it up. What's happening there, that's being caused by poor soils underneath the roadway. And it's holding moisture, and it's a type of clay that you find in that area. And it's between that wet clay and those trucks going in and out of the recycling center, it's causing some issues there. So I'd hope we had gotten it. I know we've done some work down there, but.
Well, they patched it again.
Okay.
And it seems like every 3
Still
to
doing
4
it.
months it's
Okay.
but I appreciate that. Secondly, in Carter's Creek, and I can't remember the road, Alfred, I don't know, Jones, he should have contacted you last year about, it's on Baltimore Center Road near by Kitchen Branch
Okay.
Church, right there on the right.
Okay.
And they have been trying for years to get that road paved. Now, I think there was an issue initially, he said a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, because getting right away.
Yeah.
But I think now everyone agrees that they need it,
Okay.
partly because there's a drainage that can become a hazard for them. So can you?
Yeah, we can have our right-of-way agent contact the property owners again. We had several issues in the past on that road right-of-way, but he's good about going out and talking to people to find out what the feel of the community is and knowing whether to proceed with surveys or not. So we won't survey until we talk to the people to find out if we think we can get it or not.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And the last thing, when they came into, in East Arcadia to repay, but at some time during that time, they came and cleaned the ditch. That's not your area though, am I right? Or is it?
I'm not directly over maintenance, but I've worked close with those guys.
Okay, they did, and they used a laser to make sure the water drains, whatever. But then they left. Mary Moore on Dixon Road, she said it's their ditch over there, a lot of flooding, and it doesn't drain. Can someone please take care of that?
We can look at, I'll be honest with you, most of the issues we have with drainage tend to be issues related to the outfall ditch. The roadside ditches, we can go in and take care of those and get those on grade. But what tends to cause most of the issues is the ditches. When I say outfall ditch, that's the ditch that runs away from the road towards the swamp or woods or wherever it may go. Usually the issue that's causing the flooding problem or the standing water is related to the outfall ditch. We do not have the ability to go in and work in that outfall ditch. We'll be glad to check it out, but 9 times out of 10, that tends to be the issue is the outfall.
I know they did use the contractor, did go out and do those drainage outfall. They did do that, but the last 2 rains, it's a lot of standing water afterwards. So I don't know if that's it, but it's like you check.
Okay. I was on Dixon.
Dixon, I think she was 932 or something. Mary Moore.
Mr. Clark, you did mention, 4-lane in 87 on the Wilmington.
I just need one of y'all to ask me about it.
That was my question too.
Yeah, I'll be full blank honest with you. It is not funded. And the reason why it's not funded is what drives new projects is either safety or mobility, traffic counts, congestion. 87 has a lot of traffic from Elizabethtown north, and it has a lot of traffic from Highway 11 south. But the piece from 11 to Elizabethtown, it only has maybe 4,000, 4,500 cars a day, which may sound like a lot, but it's actually, in highway terms, is a very low volume for a primary highway. The piece from Highway 11 going into Columbus County, that is on schedule to get 4 lanes. Unfortunately, the Bladen County piece is not in the TIP for 4 lane. Now, the things that would change that, if something were to come to drive the traffic up, that is one thing that would change it. If we were to have some kind of major activity in Columbus County, say towards the port or that general industrial park area down there, that could be an issue where they could drive it. Another factor is being considered, and this study's not complete yet, but we're looking at a resilience study on US 74, how to maintain traffic between 95 and Wilmington during a storm event. But his defense, he could never have predicted what happened to us 2 years ago either. And that has thrown pretty much all project schedules into turmoil.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And-
it'll ultimately be a 4-lane divided all the way through.
State board didn't get a south board, that was,
That would have pushed it back up in the ranking. I'm going to be point blank honest. That would have pushed it up back in the ranking higher.
Mr. Clark, you're helping every county except Bladen County, not you, but the state. Columbus County have 2 4-lane roads that's going through there to Wilmington. And we're sitting here with 4 lanes on both sides, and we need that connection. But we need to grow too.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's one thing that draws economic development is location and 4-lane roads.
I understand, but as I pointed out when I started this, the 2 things that drive it are safety and mobility. All the interchanges you see going on in Columbus County are unfortunate because a lot of people have died at those intersections. That's why they're getting those interchanges over
And the
there.
only reason I asked you about our drive was one of your big engineers is the one that told me the information that I asked you, because the biggest complaint come from him about our drive.
Mhm.
Just share that with you.
Okay.
In fact, he applied for the same job you got right.
So can you close everything going to Wilmington and everybody has to use 87?
I'm sorry now?
Can you close 211 and all the other roads so everybody has to travel 87?
No, sir. They pay taxes on all the trucks we're going to drive.
And that's the only way it's gonna happen when you, when the tax criteria. No, it doesn't. I'm just telling you, it don't make sense. Sure. It's penalizing Bladen County.
Well, there is money being invested in Bladen County. I mean, it's not, we're not putting any money in Bladen County. You got $28 million sitting right over there for a bridge we desperately need, so.
Say that, I'm saying 87 for.
Mr. Clark, I see a lot of times when they repair roads, they use loose gravel. You know, why do they do that? And then they use it a couple years after that, then they come back and pave it then.
now they spray it.
Yeah, but.
Are you talking about patching roads or chip sealing roads?
Okay.
I'll address both those issues. On the patching, during the wintertime, you can't get asphalt. So a lot of times during the wintertime, if it's an absolute have to be done repair, they'll do it and put stone back. But then as soon as it gets warmer weather, they'll come in and patch it back with asphalt. I think what you're maybe referring to is chip seals.
I know one time I was traveling from Bladenboro to Evergreen. I went through there, oh, God. It just was a lot of dust and.
Yeah, what happens, that's called a chip seal. It's basically where you put on alternating layers of liquid asphalt, rock, liquid asphalt, and rock. The first 2 weeks after it goes down, it is a little slick because of loose gravel. That's why all those signs are posted everywhere. It says 25 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Once you get past that initial period, it's swept off, and usually it's a good tight material. And honestly, once it's in place and been down for a few weeks, it actually has a higher friction coefficient than normal pavement does.
Okay.
But to answer your question, why we do that, it comes down to what's called preservation. Obviously, everybody like to have a nice 1.5 inch plant mix on their road, but it just can't be done physically. So we use preservation as a way to extend the life of the road and then come back later and put plant mix on it later.
Now, is Martin Luther King Drive, is that a state road?
That
here?
is.
Well, the members of the church out there is asking that the walkway be paved out there, Mount Zion Church. Do y'all do paving there, or how's that done? It's paving. They what they want to do is pave their parking lot. And apparently someone has talked to them and said, okay, you need the pavement, not the pavement, but the sidewalk, needs to be paved in order to have a successful parking lot. Do you all do the sidewalk?
Probably not in that situation. I got to look at it and make sure where we do sidewalks is if we have a missing link of sidewalk, say this block of sidewalk exists, this block does not. We get some federal funds every couple of years to go in and connect that up so you have continuous walkway path. But honestly, I thought I pretty much got all those handled. Is it Mount Zion, you say?
Mount Zion. And the sidewalk they're talking about is between, it's right there, Scrimmage Street to Jones Street.
Here's what may be going on there as well. Also, the town has a what's called a CBD project that's getting ready to happen there between the MLK Park back up to the farmers market. That may take care of it as well, but it's wrong direction. Okay.
And now, Peanut Road, is that state road too?
Yes, Peanut Road is ours.
Okay,
as well.
some of the citizens out there have, but around 512 Peanut Road, they're asking about the drainage out there. They contacted the town and they said it's probably the state deal. They got, drains out there that have grown up?
If it is an open ditch, same thing applies what we were talking about earlier about the drainage. If it is an open ditch, it's an outfall ditch, DOT does not maintain that. The property owners have to maintain that ditch.
So with this, okay, the city might have to assist.
If there, the exception to that is if there is an easement on the ditch or some kind of no, honestly, that's why we have criteria of mobility and safety, just take politics out of it.
You got Mr. Peterson and Don, and then we let
My
you go.
question is, and you might not want to answer it, it's okay if you don't. But what is the conversation about electric cars and stuff like that, and how you going to maintain roads if all that comes to life?
This is not anything official, so let me state that on the record. It's not official, but ultimately we're going to have to go to a mileage of use kind of deal. As cars get electrified, right now almost all the funding comes off the motor fuels tax. So if people aren't buying fuel, there's no revenue coming in. What that's going to look like, I do not know. It's being piloted in other parts of the state to kind of see how the best way to do this, but ultimately it's got to come down to some type of miles driven per year type tax versus the fuel tax on the electric vehicles.
Two comments, number one. In Murphytown, and Mr. Martin, I think Miss Carolyn Holder called you about that. On that highway, who's responsible for the trees and stuff going up?
Is it on Murphytown?
Yeah, off
Or
that road.
210?
Is it 210?
210 matter the Murphytown comes
Right.
off.
All right, on that side, I took some pictures I sent them to somebody, I think Mr. Martin.
And
And then there's trees in the ditch.
Okay.
Who's supposed to clean that up?
It's on the state maintained portion, it's us, so we can take a look at that.
Would you please? Because I sent down last year, 2 years ago, and it's still there. And the second thing, when he talked about those electric cars, does the state have, well, where were those stations for these electric cars? Any plan to put them on the highways or?
I have not been privy to that. I do know that's a big part of what the federal bill is to put charging stations all over the nation. But as far as where they're gonna be at, they've not gotten far enough along to start asking for permission where they're gonna go.
Because I'm just on 74th, I had supposed to talk about them there.
A private, a Pearson company, a little general store, they put some in. The ones you're seeing on 74 is where a private individual put them in and try to bring electric cars into business, which I thought was genius on this.
So that may be something we need to consider doing, huh? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
I'll follow up on those two.
And the ditch between Peanut and Quail.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Troy Votaw.
Stick they hit each other with. You know, we don't ever get to why we can't get it sorted out. I'm a pig farmer by trade. That's what I came to North Carolina to do. You know, on pig farms, if we have 250 animals, you don't need a permit at all, right? We don't even worry about managing that amount of waste. So think about 250 pigs eating 4 or 5 pounds of feed every day creates a lot of waste. We have 180 houses at Bay Tree. A bunch of them are old people. Nobody's eating 4 or 5 pounds of food, you know, so maybe made a little bit, but anyway, I just don't know that it's an environmental issue. I think if you went and looked at Bay Tree, the you know, of course, everybody knows we got a lot of groundwater coming into our system, but that solution to pollution is dilution. So, you know, what we're spraying out on the field, they're managing that stuff right. It's more about not following government rules. So that's why we're where we're at. I want, at some point, if this doesn't resolve fairly quickly, that we could get enough people in Bladen County riled up about it. You know, the tax ladies, when I talked to Renee, you know, I think we're on the same side in this fight. We could have taken $40,000 lots and made them $500,000 homes. We probably missed 10 of those this year because that's about how many houses we've been building out there. So that's a big swing in tax revenue. My question for her was, look, if this goes for another year, do we still pay full tax value for the lots that we own? If you own a lot, you know, my taxes went down just a little bit on the lot I own. But at what point does that become not really fair to us if we can't build them? So
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Conley.
What I've been asking, I've heard us talk about bakery lakes and the septic system out there.
Yeah.
From an environmental perspective, I'm looking at like Fayetteville when I go in back on Chickafoot Road. Those guys have built houses and homes all through there, massive amounts of it. And they don't have a sewer system. Is the water, is the land quality that bad that you can't build a house with a septic system, self-contained septic system on that?
Well, I think those are questions we need to start asking. It would be better probably to manage it with the system that we have in place. There's sewer lines to every house or every lot out there. It's just managing I personally believe it's managing cutting the hay right, removing the nutrients, keeping the records. It's those little details that have put us in the position we're in. along with not maintaining the integrity of the sewer line running over there. So we have a lot, when it rains, we have manhole covers that go underwater, and rainwater pours in there, hits the lift station, and gets pumped to the sewer plant.
That was the question I was asking, was the water quality so bad, and so much moisture, that the land wouldn't hurt, that you couldn't put a septic?
No, I mean,
They weren't designed for that. There's no, they're, when they bought it, it's not designed to have sewage, personal sewage tank.
Right.
It's not designed.
Now, I'll tell you this, the house that I bought and the house next to me were set up that way. We had a lift station in my front yard, and it pumped to a septic tank. And that would have been 20 years ago, and they pulled that out when they ran sewer lines. But we got a good system. We just need to have the right people managing it and follow the rules and maintain the integrity of and start improving the integrity of our system. I get really frustrated because a year and a half ago, they spent a pile of money running cameras down all our sewer lines to find all the little spots that need to be fixed. And I think it was like $100,000. A year and a half later, we haven't fixed the first spot. So for me, I don't get why we don't go and fix the first spot at some point, or get somebody to move this ball along.
I think, if I may address the county manager and our attorney, and you got two owners out there. You got lawsuits hanging here, there, and yonder. I've talked to some of you folks out there, and some that's pretty well off. And if they would end and come to an end with their lawsuit situation, they tell me they got money and are willing to help take care and fix that problem. But their hands is in a bind because of the two principal original owners, I think. I think my question would be to the county manager and to this board, that we get our representatives to step in and ask some questions with the people that can make a difference in Raleigh, and apply some pressure to get some of this resolved, so you people in your neighborhood can get started doing what you need and want to do. And I think that would be the first start, if we could get that done and get some pressure applied, because this thing's been hanging and hanging and hanging.
Well, it's a year. It's a year, May 27th, I think. So,
Right, but you had issues prior to that.
well, the issues go way back in time. And I can tell you, I cut hay there for a while. And I charged them $500 twice a year to cut the little hay. This has been years ago. They told me they could get it done for free, and they didn't want to give me $500. I said, that's fine. And I said, I'm not ever coming back to do it. Well, since then, they've never really, the guy that said he'd do it for free did it once. They've never really done that. And from where I come from, that farming aspect of removing nutrients and taking them away from the land is a critical part of managing the nutrients that are there. Now, I keep saying there's very little nutrients there in comparison. I mean, I don't think it's a pollution issue. When I first moved to Bay Tree, out of the back of the pond, it just ran off into the woods. And it did that for years,
And Mr. Gambrell is one of those folks, he said he could see, help get it done. Go ahead, Mr. Peters.
So, you know that we don't have no say-so in Bay Tree Lake.
I know that.
So there's been talk about regional sewage.
Yep.
Until y'all homeowners or landowners over there get together and get legally whatever you have to do, our hands are tied.
Yeah, incorporated into something.
I mean, am I wrong, attorney?
And do it in a little township.
But I think our legislators could get involved with.
They're finding them every day. They're finding that, they were finding them, the state of DEQ were finding them
I know, but
every day if they haven't stopped.
That's privately owned.
But even with their
It is
lawsuit,
privately owned, and it's actually in Lake Creek's name. Lake Creek needs to transfer it into Old North State or EnviroLink. The rub comes because the other developer wants it transferred from Lake Creek to Redbird, then from Redbird to, the Utilities Commission won't let them do that transfer from one bad corporation. We want it to go to a third-party operator.
That was my first.
Yeah, my problem with the whole thing is, as individual lot owners at Bay Tree, we have a hard time getting anybody's attention, right?
Yeah.
I came in to talk to you guys just to see, you know, my little plan with Greg was to get everybody at Bay Tree to send in their tax card and create enough commotion to kind of get everybody's attention, say, wait a minute, we need somebody to help us do something here. And I don't know what we do.
I've had a question there for a while.
You don't know it.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is, and I'm like Charles Ray, the rest of you, you know, have heard quite a bit about it from patients in the office. It's, you know, they talk about it from A to Z, that kind of thing, but shouldn't all the energy be focused on homeowners out there and your frustration, getting those two guys to finally kind of what this whole thing is about that? I mean, in other words,
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I would say, I went off the POA board in April of last year. In May was when the moratorium came on. The POA board, the people that we had in place, just, we haven't created much energy around it at this point. It's, you know, if you talk to the developers, either one of them, they always blame the other guy. They always say it's gonna get fixed pretty quick, okay? I talked to Mr. Jones today. I hadn't gotten a hold of the Carlisle side, but you know, there's hope that this thing goes away in a little bit, right? But what if it doesn't? I mean, what do I need to do if it doesn't go away pretty quick? And that's kind of why I'm here tonight.
My recommendation, like I said, I did, there's some legislators, I mean, you vote for these people, ask for their help, and make those people spend some more money when y'all get an attorney. You got people out there can pay some high price and make them spend more money other than the lawsuits you already got.
I know you don't want to hear what I have to say, but it's for you as an organization out there, y'all have got to deal with it. Whether you bring your tax cards or not, you're gonna pay your taxes. I mean that nicely, but you're gonna pay your taxes. That ain't gonna get nobody's attention. You've had our attention, and there's talk about regional sewage. But until y'all solve it, we can't even do regional sewage. There was talk about Bay Tree going to White Lake and White Lake to Elizabeth. We've had that conversation, but we've done all we can do.
That's like a 10-year plan. We can't, there's people that don't want to wait 10 years. We need to have a.
But can't get it done that quick.
how about y'all's energy, and I'm just asking hypothetically, y'all's energy be focused on, I'm not trying to give you ideas, but putting heavy pressure on these two guys. In other words, I'm like Charles Ray, you say we're not, I mean, I've heard others down, or some of those guys at that meeting when we had it upstairs, we're just not gonna pay taxes. You know, well, you know, we all know what's gonna happen with that. But here's my thing, Troy, is why don't y'all, as a collective group, why don't y'all put lawsuits on those owners?
That's right.
And force them,
That's right.
and
Well-
they are holding you up. The county is not holding you up. They are holding you up.
So my reason for coming here is.
I mean, I'm just
We need to be
asking.
on, I wanted
Yeah.
the tax office and then the county commissioners to be on the same side as the lot owners at Bay Tree that are trying to build a house and pay more taxes by building a house.
I'm with you.
That's my reason for being here, is to have you guys completely in support of, we gotta get this ended somehow. So that as we have conversations going forward, we'll try to have the conversations from Bay Tree that we need to make that happen. But I don't want it to not be that you guys are having the same conversations trying to help us get it done.
I think if you go to your legislators and they're in Raleigh, they get involved with DEQ and the people that regulate it, there's where the pressure should start.
Well, my thing is with the amount of houses and real estate that's out there, I haven't figured out when you get to talking about funding, why hasn't that area incorporated into a township? The guys won't let y'all do that out there? Why don't you just incorporate it into a township, and that way you can create your own?
Can't do nothing until you get those two guys out of the way.
You can figure out how to get a township
You
out
have to
there.
see with DOA, you have to know what the homeowners, guidelines are, you know, when you bought the property and stuff.
Yeah.
We understand, and I've heard you, I told you what there's been rumors of, and there's been a lot of conversation about it, but I think it's in your court right now and we'll do anything we can as a board, I'm sure, but I think y'all got to put pressure on those guys somehow or another. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Monroe Township.
I had one more. Just about to recognize my preacher Cameron because he doesn't dress like that when he comes to church.
Don't you ever call me long, and don't you ever call me long-winded again.
Ms. Cindy Allen?
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
I don't have anything to do with sewage systems or drainage ditches or paving or anything like that.
We don't know that.
I'm here to talk to you a little bit about Bladen County's biggest hidden gem, Harmony Hall. Harmony Hall is over 240 years old, sitting on its original foundation, on its original cellar, one of the oldest, if not the oldest home in this county, and it's rotting down around us. Why? For want of assistance. Not for lack of love, but for want of assistance and fear and hatred. Plain and simple. Yes, it has a past. Yes, it has history. Who among us doesn't? Not a soul. Harmony Hall is the centerpiece that was built by Colonel James Richardson, a Revolutionary War hero who came to Bladen County. He was a major in the French and Indian War, 1763. He ends up coming into Bladen County and gaining land, purchasing land and being granted land by the colonial governor of North Carolina. He was a big businessman in Bladen County. But more than anything, he's a Bladen County patriot. He risked everything to see North Carolina and this country be free from Britain. His past was as a shipping magnate. His family was in shipping. He comes to Bladen County and gets into the naval stores industry. Builds a fine big home. It's all of 4 rooms. A fine big home. When General Cornwallis's folks came through in March and April of 1781, Cornwallis's soldiers remarked that Harmony Hall was the grandest home on the Cape Fear between Fayetteville and Wilmington. And we're going to let it rot down around us out of fear and hatred? I don't think so. Yeah, Colonel Richardson owned slaves, 6 of them, according to the 1770 census tax records. He owned 1,200 acres of land and had 6 enslaved people. He was probably one of the smaller slave owners of the time for his size of business. Does that mean that we don't honor him and the contributions that he and those 6 individuals made to this county? You ignore him, you let that place fall down, you dispute, you absolutely spit on the history of the individuals who lived and worked and made a life on that property and in this region. 2 of them in particular, Simon and Judy, his wife. Simon was one of the individuals, and his wife, Judy, who are told and spoken of in the family histories coming down through the generations. Simon was acquired as a slave young man. He was the age of Colonel Richardson and his wife's 2 young sons, right in that age group. He grew up with Samuel. He grew up with their sons. He was considered part of their family. He was so well respected by Colonel and Mrs. Richardson that he had free reign and permission to travel around the whole southeastern North Carolina as an itinerant preacher. Virtually unheard of. But oh, he was a slave. Yes, he was. Cannot dispute that. Will not dispute that. But I also will not let him die in the annals of history because of hatred and prejudice. His wife, Judy, lived to be almost 100 years old. When Judy died, her obituary was published in the local newspaper. Folks, that didn't happen. She was a slave. You didn't publish the death of an enslaved person in the local newspaper and celebrate her life. That didn't happen, but it did there. Judy was remarkable. She was valuable as a human being, and the Richardson family recognized it. We, Harmony Hall Board, I'm the treasurer of the board of Harmony Hall Village. We have a very small board. We are a 501c3. We have been in ownership of 97 acres of woodland and swamp since 2016 that we have tried desperately to keep alive through grants, through grassroots donations. Literally, $10,000 was raised in the last 3 years through PayPal and Facebook donations to try and reopen that home. When Miss Florence's blinker got stuck in the left turn position a few years ago, she dumped 36 inches of rain on Harmony Hall's front yard. And the river got real angry. The river came up to 100 yards in front of the house, which is right on the river. And she blew a lot of water in through our 200-and-some-year-old siding. And we had to gut the interior of the home due to mold. You name the mold, we had it growing. It was ugly. We gutted it. State Historic Preservation Office holds a covenant for that building, that structure, with us. They are in communication with us frequently. How are we doing? What do we need? How can we assist you? They don't want to see it fall in. It is not state owned. It is not state maintained. It is not county owned. It is held by a small group of individuals who happen to see history as valuable. I know all of you. I know every one of you. And when I say that I'm disappointed that history doesn't matter, yeah, that's an understatement. Understatement. History of everybody matters. Mr. Bullock, your great-grandparents' history matters to me. You've taught in my classroom before. I had you to come to my classroom and talk about the genesis of the NAACP and its value in today's America.
Yeah, did they?
Because why? It's valuable. My students at East Bladen High School deserve to hear an unbiased and accurate and equal representation of history. If I can't do that in Bladen County because we allowed our best historic resource to fall down for lack of funding, that's pretty simple. Please, please, please trust that those of us who love history enough to sweat and deal with the mosquitoes and the critters out there, as we do, volunteering our time and effort, trust that we will not gloss over the ugly parts of history. I can't speak to what people's minds have been in the past. I can't. I can't speak to what you have decided in the past. But I can tell you that the future of the kids that sit in my classroom at East Bladen High School, and your grandchildren, and your children, it will matter. The story has to be told accurately and equally. Please, if you can see fit to share a little bit of big money that came into this county, Harmony Hall is in desperate need of some dollars. We're seeking them. We're shaking bushes.
Mr. Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Fuller.
some of the citizens are questioning the dumpsters, that they're not being, I would say dumped timely or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what the technical word would be, but they're not being worked on. And trash is being left in the areas there. I was wondering, could we approve overtime for those that are working, because they're understaffed? I wonder, could we approve overtime to get that trash cleaned up, the staff that's there?
Mr. Yeah,
Hold on,
That's the only thing I was wondering about, because the
yours
citizens,
tie into his?
it is.
they were concerned about the trash not being, like, when they go there, say I got 5 or 6 bags, I mean, do I just leave them on the ground, or what I do? So, to be help clean up the county, my suggestion, which might not be feasible, is to allow them that are working, I think they are understaffed, the drivers. If they, to allow them to work over and pay them overtime to clean up the county. That's my thing.
Oh, my God.
East Arcadia, Cali, and some of the other sites I'm complaining. They cannot, they have 4 brown goods, containers. For them to make their route to go to all of them, they can only move 1. That means there's only 3 will be left full. And they take 1 and they put an empty one there. But before the day is over, within a couple of days, that's full. So all the brown goods is still there in most of these sites. And so what we're afraid of, folks are not going to go to the recycle. They're going to put it on the highway. And we don't want to go to dump, illegal dump. We don't want that.
You want to address that, Mr.
So,
Fuller?
I haven't heard any more about it. I mean, other than, I don't have more to share than what Mr. McClary shared 2 weeks ago at our board meeting. He spoke pretty broadly. However, I know that we have advertised that position that you all, indicate or authorize us to do. As far as status on that, how to best move forward.
Right, if they can't find a driver, that's what Mr. Bull was saying, can we not let those guys work
And I'm
overtime?
talking to him about-
So they can at least clear out at least 2 containers, at each site.
What did they fall, a question I'm asking, because I carry a CDL, did they fall under the same category, so many hours driving? What have you?
I don't know that that really comes into play,
Just ask the
but that's a
question.
good question.
But the only thing I can bring attention to that is that those guys have called me on several occasions with situations that's going on down there, and I've spoken with Greg about it, about what's happening down there, and they're unstaffed, and they are complaining big time that they're unable to do what they need to do. Some of the guys saying when it comes time for them to take off and take vacation, they personal stuff, they're unable to do it, so it's an issue that we need to address down there with what's going on down there, that solid waste. So I know some things Ms. Martin and I talked about with some personnel that's in limbo and all this is going on, and we trying to figure out how to budget it and how to keep costs in line. But at this point, we need to look at, that's when I asked Mr. McClure when he was here the last time, had he assessed whether or not we need to upgrade that whole department with how we staff it. Because right now, it don't seem like it's adequate. We might need to spend some more money down.
Mr. Martin?
Well, we had that one position that we discussed at the last meeting, it's really causing a ink in operation.
Mr. Martin, will you address that and do whatever you got to do to make it work?
Yeah,
please, sir?
We may able to help, right?
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah.
So you still haven't, you still up and down.
He didn't go to, it's a worker company.
Yeah, you got.
He didn't, the appointment I referenced, I
Sure.
understand that he didn't. Anyway, that's the issue. I hate to get it.
So we didn't approve to authorize another person?
Yeah, we did.
You approved the advertisement of the.
Right, okay, all right, so if you advertise, okay, but the issue is, if he's still on the books, you're saying you can't hire that person.
Well, that was the issue. We had a pending, remember, we had a pending appointment,
Right,
and that, as I understand it, hasn't worked out like we anticipated on that time.
but can we not approve adding a position there anyway, and then even if they come back, I mean, you still have it, you have the staff, you need it.
That's what he's doing.
No, he can't, that's what he just told me.
He's advertising for a position that we got open.
Right. He said-
Yeah, but he can't hire the person.
That's what I'm saying. We'll come back just as quickly.
That's what he just said.
That's what our-
The number won't increase, but if you create a position, and what I'm saying, and then when
But
that
if he
position becomes
decides-
available,
If he stay on the books for the
on
next 6
leave,
months,
then
he still
you
can't.
you build from 4 to 5. Instead of being at 4 to 4, you build one
That's what
person.
I'm
Replace that disability person, if they don't come back and leave that position.
Mr. Martin, clarify what we've
Yeah.
given permission to do.
As I understood it, to advertise a position. That has not yet been created. Our intent was for that appointment to take place. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get some resolution to that situation and be able to move forward. As I understand it, that did not happen at the last time that we gave you, the date that we gave you. And so that's why we're not able to come back tonight to move forward with it. But I hope that we'll be able to by our very.
I think, you know, it's like everything else, we shorten a lot of places, we just got to work through it, leave your trash at the dumpster and they'll throw it in the dumpster and move on.
They can't.
So,
Brown goods is not nothing, there's nothing, no trash. It's
It's
on.
bags.
I'm telling you about this, what you call them now?
know what I'm saying though, Mr. Chairman? So if a citizen go to a dumpster and it's filled, they can just put the trash inside somewhere, inside that area.
Don't do
Is
that.
that what we're saying?
No, don't do that.
You don't have the staffing to pick it up.
No,
put
you
it
do
in the
not.
That's what I said. So what we
No,
gonna
you
do?
don't.
I'd rather leave it inside the fence than leave it by the side of the road.
I agree.
But Mr.
But
Peterson,
that thing about it though, are we serving the citizens by letting
Doing
the
the
trash?
best we can, we trying to hire.
What I'm saying, well, my question was, can we approve overtime for those guys to work over and move the trash? If they working, let's say 8 hours a day, if we approve overtime, would that help moving the trash?
And I'll be glad to talk to you about that.
let me just say, when it comes to the bags, if the containers for the trash that they put bags in full, they move them, throw them into brown goods.
Right.
And the brown goods are the ones who are not moved.
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
That was my.
That's the cardboard.
So, Mr.
All right,
Ray,
here's what I like to
So Mr. Kidd last time said it was also, we were short, but the hauling company's short too.
Yeah, sure you did. I mean, my question is, Mr. Chairman, what can we do here to alleviate the problem other than waiting to hire someone?
My recommendation to your board would be allow Mr. Martin, if it's overtime, or what do you got, fix the problem.
Yes.
Okay, I agree
If
with
it's
that.
overtime,
Mr. Peterson made a good point though, and Kit did speak to this. When the, transportation company.
it's gonna be
gets
backlogged to
we
Mercer
can't-
Mill Road because the building's gonna be full, because they're not hauling.
That's right.
I get your
That's
point,
really
and I knew that.
Well, those guys have, when you go down there, the one in Town at the fall, they have sometimes 5 or 6 of those trailers pulled. They got them to put them in there and let them haul them out. We can just lock them up. But when you still go there, I look and it's 5 container trucks sitting out there and dumpsters running over. That makes no sense to me. You got dumpsters running over, and you got 5 big trucks sitting back there.
What happened?
Mr. Martin,
Thank you, sir.
work out the solution.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I got one thing.
Yes, sir.
If it's all right with the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Martin, will you check into, let's see if we can get the summer recreation going again? And give us a report back.
Summer rec.
Summer recreations in the communities like we've done a few years back.
Mr. Payton, I've actually already.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anyone else? All right. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Pate?
$50,000.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
I come before you tonight to consider approving the purchase of gym bleachers in the amount of $45,946 from Mastercraft.
Motion to approve.
Mr. McGill, second, Dr. Montgomery.
How many people know things accommodate?
390.
Number 2, Mr. Pate.
Number two is consider.
I'm sorry. Can I ask one question? The demolition and removal was not included.
No, the $3,500 contract's already been signed and approved. We're moving forward with that this week.
You go ahead and tear them out.
We're gonna go ahead and get the old ones tore out so they can order a new one, so we can get the floor repaired and the walls, so we can get.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Number 2.
B, consider approving the purchase of, field number 2 lighting in the amount of $80,000 from Must Go Lights.
Motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. McGill. Discussion, Mr. Bullock. I'm sorry, Mark.
And what does that include, that 80,000? Poles, the lights, or what else?
That's in the box. That's the lights, the poles, the, wiring harness, and the next item would be the install.
Yes,
Oh, that's.
They have the best warranty.
All these already come up.
But I have a question. I got a question right here.
What I want to ask, when we install these new lights, as far as reoccurring costs, would it do anything to change the light bill? Would it go up?
LED lights will lower the cost.
Lower the cost.
It will lower the cost.
New stuff.
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
gonna
stuff we've already discussed.
What I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I was looking for it. When you said the cost for the 5-year warranty versus the ones that have a 25-year, what was I understand the warranty part is awesome, but what was the initial cost difference? Just the difference, if you can give me that.
I can give you that.
I couldn't find it.
The $48,500.
Difference,
No, the difference,
okay.
it's around 26,000.
Okay.
25.
Mm-hmm.
We can change them.
Okay. Yeah, but 20 years, okay.
I just done a project when them nasty hurricanes came through, we had to get a light contractor came in and we looked at a $27,000 light bill.
Oh, gotcha. Good. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6.
C, consider accepting Allegiance Industries Incorporated proposal in the amount of $35,758 to install the said light.
Install or remove?
This is to install. Remove, they're gonna remove it. They're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
take down.
A motion by Mr. Peterson,
Second.
second by Mr. Hester. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Emergency service, Dallas.
Yeah, come before you tonight to, consider accepting the low bid to replace the, roofs on the classroom building and the dormitory building at the training center. It's actually roof and gutters, and that's to remove the existing material and, install new, remove the existing gutters. And, we've been patching those things since we bought the place.
Approved, Mr. Chairman. Motion by Mr. Cameron. Second by Mr. Peterson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I got one. I'm looking at this building, I remember when we first brought this place, years ago. We took over that building, Mr. Bristol fixed it where we started investing money. And I'm looking at the amount of money that's going to this building. And I'm not against anyone using the building. But I just can't understand what is the benefit of us having law enforcement from the state patrol office to go out there and use that facility and mass contact at all times. Are they giving us any monetary value for being out there that place?
So
The state got plenty of money.
so this money right here is actually coming from the state. The sheriff actually, got this money. We actually got $250,000 that was given to the sheriff's office for the training center.
For the state highway patrol gave it to them?
The state legislators gave it to us.
That's what I'm trying, maybe that's what I'm trying to answer, because I look at them using it, and I'm saying they're gonna use the facility. They came out and left their facility down there at the place, they're gone into jail, and then they're using this facility, and I'm just saying, so you don't never charge anybody for use of that facility?
Yeah, we do charge. The problem is most of the time people is the college doing training classes for firefighters. It's law enforcement, or like the past 3 weeks, the United States Army's been out there. Well, and when Jason Best, like in December, the training we have scheduled, they do pay us. It's usually somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000.
The only reason.
Mr. Cogdale, if I may, sir.
I thought it was gonna be self-contained and with the cost and stuff when we put that place out there.
You reckon the state had in their mind when they gave us the 250 that we're good folks for allowing these other agencies that are funded by the government
No, they
also to use it?
They've been for the last 7 years that they've been out there. They're paying the debt.
They've been paying all along. They've been giving, they pay, they done the payment and everything else out there.
Well, I haven't, but what I'm saying is, that's the reason I asked the question, to clear it today. Is there any funding coming in from any outside agency to support that facility? Because when we brought it out there, it was supposed to be for a whole different intent. When it first got there than what we used it for now.
It was never intended. It was intended for firefighters and law enforcement, EMS, and whoever need to use it. The state has put $250,000 in there. I'd say every year it's been there.
We spent half.
Yeah,
How come nobody never reported in here? We never seen
the paving. Well, you remember that?
There's been 2 different paving projects out here, and all that funding was given from the legislator to the sheriff's office for the sole purpose of the training center. And I think we spent about a little over $600,000 in paving out there.
Okay, the only reason I asked the
And then it's
question is
250.
that it saves these guys from having to drive to Raleigh to a shooting range and spend taxpayers' money to gas.
Well,
we saving the state all that revenue for them just to drive right around the corner and come here instead of going all the way up to Raleigh to use their facility, and they're using ours. That was the only reason why they giving us any restitution for what was happening at that building.
And also while they're in our area, they're contributing to our local economy. One question. Go ahead, Dr.
Okay, I have a couple questions on the lowest bid. I can see the other bidder, or the person who sent the response, they gave specifics, exactly the fabric and pre-finished seal, the size, the year or manufactured yield. Does this person, this company, meet or exceed this? Otherwise, $5,000 is not enough.
So this is what I'll tell you on that. So I think you're referring to the Roof Mentors quote on there. Is that the one you're looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they came out, did their assessment of the, facility, so did Devon and so did Bostic. And one thing that so if you'll notice in those quotes, Devon and Bostic quoted gutters where Roof Mentors did not, because they came out and looked at roofs and said, hey, let's quote gutters too, because you need them too. Because they're like falling off the building. And the Roof Mentors didn't. So that's kind of where
But I guess my difference is though, but if they have the 20-year warranty,
I can find out.
they have to have the warranty to meet that as well. And the size, the installation, does that include all of that? Make sure they have, I mean, to me, for it to last, this has the 3-layer of 4x4 installation, R25, and I guess it's a minimum, but I guess it's okay. And then they gave the manufactured 20-year details, and then the size of the steel. So if the steel is a 16, well, wait a minute, if it's steel, I think the bigger the number.
It's not steel, it's TPO. It's the same type roof. It's the mill of the rubber they're putting up.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a concrete.
Oh,
it's a concrete roof.
Okay, and then other for workman's comp and other, so as long as they exceed that, otherwise saving $5,000 is really not it. So I want to make sure you have.
Well, I did go back after I got the other quotes and got a quote from the Roof Mentors for gutters, and it was an additional $10,000 on to the 190.
Okay, so one of my comments, please. So it's $15,000, right? But at the same time, does the other vendor, does he meet all those other requirements or better?
And he should because that's what our spec requires.
You said it was special request when you submitted.
All right.
Call for question, we got, take a vote, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Yes, sir, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Take a 7 to 8 minute break, recess.
Thank you, sir.
Jesus.
This conference will now be recorded.
Advisory Board appointment, Southeastern Community Action Partnership Board of Directors.
I nominate Mr. Michael Cockdale.
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Michael Cardell from Mr. Bullock, second by Dr. Ming Lewis. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Cardell. Advisory Board appointment for consideration during May the 23rd. I won't call them out, y'all got it. Number 10, Advisory Board appointment for June the 20th. Mr. Martin, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to briefly review the calendar with you and point out this Thursday, the 5th at 12 noon, the CC meeting will be held. We understand that's an in-person meeting at the Health Department conference room. Friday is the United Way Day of Caring. Also, that day from 11 until 3, there's a chicken fog fundraiser for the benefit of Randy West at First Baptist Church in Clarkson. Also, from 11 until 2, there's the Bladen Crisis Assistance Barbecue Plate fundraiser for the Trinity United Methodist Church on Broad Street here in town. Saturday from 9:30 until 3:30, the 5th annual Bladen County Aim for a Cure ALS fundraiser event will take place at Lane Brothers Outdoors facility. That day at 12 noon, the Carvers Creek Community Annual Celebration drive-through will take place at the Baltimore Center. On Monday the 9th at 5:30, the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee meets. Tuesday the 10th at 8 a.m., the Bladen County Soil and Water Conservation District Board meets at the Convention Center. On Tuesday the 17th, the primary election will be held. Also from 9 until 1, there's a blood drive at the Sheriff's Office. Weekend of Friday and Saturday the 20th and 21st, the White Lake Water Festival will take place. Also at 12 noon on Saturday, there is a community prayer service here on the courthouse lawn. On Monday the 23rd, the board meets here. County offices are closed on the 30th service of Memorial Day. Moving over to June, on Thursday the 2nd at 12 noon, JC50 meets. The board meets on Monday the 6th at 8 a.m. I'm sorry, there's a prayer service at 8 a.m. And the board meets at 6:30. Monday the 13th at 5:30, the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee meets. There's a community prayer service on the courthouse lawn on the 18th. The board meets on the 20th. There's a candlelight vigil ways to raise awareness of fentanyl poisoning that would take place, rather than the courthouse alone that would take place at Bladen Road.
What time is that one?
It's in the evening. I think it's a candlelight vigil in the evening. I'm not sure exactly what time. We haven't seen it.
Can I ask a question? When we talk about that fentanyl. Can anyone of Ms. Duncan, if with what's called narcotics, the drug you give them? Okay. Can anybody be trained to do that, or you have to be a medical professional or EMS?
Anybody can be trained and you can actually get Narcan at the health department.
So if somebody wants to get, I can come over and get you guys to teach us how to do that kind of thing. Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Mark.
Okay, thank you. Moving to item B, wanted to request the board to consider scheduling a special meeting regarding the American Rescue Plan Act funding, ARPA funding.
About May or not.
Here's a 30-minute discussion.
It's May the 9th.
I have to be already, I'll be doing it Monday night.
I can be here whenever y'all pick.
May the 9th. When is that?
Is it early?
It's coming Monday.
5 o'clock? Can you do 5 o'clock? Can you do 5?
Oh, man.
Good.
All right, what did you say?
I can do
I
it.
started out May the 9th.
I'll do it.
Ellis, they give 5:30.
Can we do 5:30?
5:30, 5:30.
On the 9th?
That's good.
May the 9th at
Yeah,
5:30.
Monday. Yeah, 5:30, I'll get out.
Yeah, motion, Mr. Brett.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Peterson, May the 9th. What's the time frame?
5:30.
5:30, second by Mr. Cameron.
I'll be at firing range.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay, that's all right.
Uh-oh, I can't do it.
Can we do another day? How about,
We have to shoot day in mind.
What time does it start?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, maybe? How long does it last?
6 hours?
Usually takes 9 or so.
It's in Raleigh. In 9 hours?
It's in Raleigh.
It's long.
We're going
We're
to Raleigh.
traveling.
They won't let y'all shoot the range over
Can
there.
we do, the,
Do they know about our shooting range? Yeah, we got something to do with everybody else shoot there. We got one night to shoot $3. It's free.
I can't do it, the 11th, maybe?
You can't,
I could win, or you might do that.
what about the 11th?
Church. That's not what Wednesday was.
That's church.
How about the 12th, that Thursday? The
Can
Thursday.
you make it Thursday?
Can we do it 5 o'clock?
Thursday, 5:30.
We got a wedding.
Yeah, we is.
We got a wedding Thursday?
I could be here, but that's.
Do the 16th.
We moved our meeting because of the.
What I'm counting.
I'm almost on the opposition, let's meet 16th.
But I just said, we didn't have a meeting that night, or something other.
16th.
Because of the primary. That's why we had a meeting.
Well, then, why we doing it now then? That's what I
He's
do.
the only one got competition. That's what he said.
Huh?
You said you couldn't meet on the 13th, right? That's that Friday.
No, I ain't meeting on the Friday.
We're on Friday.
I don't do Fridays.
Well, how about the 16th? You don't do that because of that. How
How
about,
about the 16th?
the 19th? I already
I ain't
said it,
meeting on
so we
16th.
said
I
we
can't
have a
meet
meeting
that night.
night. I quit. So I can't do it that night. I got an appointment at 2 o'clock.
You said 19th,
About 19th.
Charles, you said 19th?
10 days out.
Yeah, you got the appointment.
But if you meet, can you do it virtual? We can attend. But he still won't be able to do it that way.
19th, you can't do it?
Can you do nothing?
I can do my very best, Joe.
You can do the 19th?
I'll do my very best.
You do it 9:30.
I'll do it on
19th,
5:30.
5:30? I'm good with me.
Love you, John. Thank you, Mom.
5:30 on the 19th, motion by, made the motion. Mr. Peterson,
You with that?
second by
I'll second that.
Dr. Gordon. Any more discussion? 5:30 on the 19th,
Here in this room?
this room. I'll be here. All right,
19th at 5:30.
19th, 5:30.
Follow your work.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I can make.
I'll figure it out.
Yes, sir.
If we're getting close, and I know, I talked to the county manager a little bit about it, if we get in our mind, amounts in the district allotments or whatnot, do we go ahead and kind of have that conversation with you guys? Is that okay to do that?
Okay.
He wants you to have a conversation with him.
No, I know. I'm saying, I guess what I'm asking you is, I didn't know if it was more of a formal, or go ahead and start bringing these things up as, like now, in other words.
At that meeting, yeah.
That's the 50,000.
That's really actually one of the purposes of it.
Okay. To kind of
You
outline.
know what you think you might do.
Go ahead.
Brad wants to research it to make sure it's good.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay.
And that's all.
Okay.
And by us switching the money to the salaries, then that means we don't have to worry about the deadline.
About state.
The state deadline, we don't have to follow that state deadline.
Well, she does it before, we just have a report due April 30th. But, it's clear because you all have determined the selection of the method of spending funds.
So we switch it over to that, new thing it is.
But,
Okay, Mr. Mark.
Okay, thank you. We sent an email to you this past week, showing the maps of broadband coverage that is already in place as well as the proposed. And I want to thank folks with Star Telephone and Focus Broadband for their assistance in helping to, because I'm telling you that you cannot just go to the internet and find any map that has all of that information filed already. So I really appreciate your assistance with it. I hope that was helpful for you all as well. We had a broadband committee meeting last week. I appreciate several commissioners were able to be there. And Mr. Bullock and Mr. Britt and Mr. Peterson, I think that was all. But anyway, we were able to have maps and discuss the issue in pretty good detail. And so it looks like Bladen County is going to be well served in terms of broadband access and capacity in the coming years. Now, as you all know, it's going to take a few years to build it out. But with that being said, there are concerns with Charter's grant proposal that they presented at the last meeting, that it could jeopardize applications that are already already been submitted. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention, share that with you as you consider whether to approve or not to approve.
Brad, I make a motion we do not approve the memorandum
That's second.
of understanding with Charter Communications at this time.
That's second.
Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mr. Bullock. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm gonna add something to that, Mr. Martin. As you commissioners need to know this, 'cause I asked a lot of questions that day. We got a lot of off-road homes, like myself. And we went to Raleigh, Mr. Bullock, everybody's gonna have access. Well, the first go around, if you live off the road maybe just a little bit, chances are you're not gonna have broadband. So, they're saying there may be a second wave of money coming around in a few years. So take that with a promise and a banana sandwich, because I don't know what to tell the people other than just tell them the truth. We have to see if more money flows. And I don't mean that sarcastically, but that's about the closest answer we were able to get. And so my point is, there's no map to tell you where them holes is going to be. And the way I see it, we got a bunch of people in this county that lives off the road. And they said it's all about a profit. So they're going down the major roads. And if you live so many feet off the major roads, that's an expense.
For the owner.
And my concerning question about like that is if they're giving money and all to get these programs going, I try to make a point. In business sometimes, to get the good, you got to take a little of the bad. But I don't think that went over too well. But anyway, all you do is be honest with the people and say that there is a second wave going, and the way they illustrated that was maybe some counties that have already got it, like Brunswick, for example, and they use like 3 or 4, that there may be money available in the second round that some of those counties didn't use in the first round because they gave so much to each county.
I just have one question. If you look at some of those maps, I couldn't compare them. It still shows some places in East Arcadia got to be covered. Or when you see those lines, it says plan, or like Kenny Store Road, those folks, the ones where are also part of Moortown Road, and I asked them for those. We want to make sure all of them are covered as well. Okay?
They told us that they would start, everything Stardust is gonna be covered, and then we just gotta wait,
I'm just going by that.
I just gotta wait.
I know.
And
One of the, points too, just to remind you all of, the purpose of the CAB grant program that we discussed at the council government meeting this night is to fill in the hole. So they very well may exist, just like Mr. Brent said.
Okay,
That's the purpose of that program.
yeah, because Phil had that thing, okay.
but I learned a long time ago, don't make any promises. Something I can't control and handle,
That's right.
don't promise.
But I don't know whether it's illegal or not, but if people in the community get high power routers, that's the fencing the way.
There's some you can't get routers though. AT&T doesn't do anything on our end.
But if you get the routers are pretty good. Now with Starship, I know they work pretty good here.
Correct.
You
Still in signal, Cardell?
I ain't stealing nothing. You got my house is free. You
That's
can-
right.
But the one thing you got about this is cable. This is not above
You can
ground.
have some of it too.
So you can't detect and pull.
What do you mean it's not above ground?
This is,
You said it
this is cable.
It's in the ground.
Yeah.
Broadband is
It's on the ground, right, okay.
right.
So the routers are-
That's why they're not gonna run it.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Some of the people off the road.
And it's said too, if a business is way off the road, they go, 1,000 feet?
Mhm,
And then the business has to pay.
That's what I brought up. And then honestly, what happens, boots on the ground, the customers get told a high price to be able to kind of.
Yeah, the customer has to
tell them that. Yeah.
the customer has to fund the rest of it. They go so many feet off the main train.
Happened to a front desk lady I've got.
600 feet, and then you come up with a price on the balance. That's it.
They ain't talking about that money.
That's all, that's
Just
all.
try to-
No, one other thing. Glad you, memory. I wanted to let you all know, and I placed the memo at your, seat there with pictures, but Trillium has designated $500,000 to Bladen County, for Bladen County, to develop an all-inclusive children's playground on county property. Ideally, the county park is a like location. But we had a preliminary meeting this morning to discuss the concept, whatever. Mr. Payne, Parks and Recreation was there. But this is a wonderful opportunity for Bladen County. They've already done this in other counties that they serve. So as more information becomes available, start my share.
Is this all of these that they're showing,
These
or
are examples of ones they've already
they've done?
been part of.
Oh, they're like a water park, something like that.
Yeah, the splash pad was,
They saying these is $2,000, $2,000, 200,000, and
The water park will be one, and then they'll choose the other one.
Oh, wait a minute, so are they gonna do one on each side of the county along with it too?
No,
Like one in Tar Hill?
no, it's got to go on county park. That's the one of the guidelines.
so it's
Well, the county get more property in both ends of the county. Would be nice.
Make a motion to go to closed session. Second.
Got a motion? Second by Don. I mean, Mr. Cameron McGill. Say aye. Opposed?
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.